Here we are at Mr and Mrs Valentine's in Christchurch. About 2 months ago they decided to proceed with placing an order for conservatory from Richard Thomas. As you can see, there is an existing conservatory. And stage 1 will be our builder Fraser taking down the existing conservatory before doing the appropriate footings, dwarf walls, for then our fitters to fit the frames and roof.
We now go to New Milton and see a before and after shot of a double hipped Edwardian here. Next you'll see that Richard Thomas has built and designed many larger conservatories, bespoke conservatories. This one here is a double hipped gable T-shaped, a substantial build, and here again you see the before and after. Again in Grove Road, you'll see another Richard Thomas conservatory, before and after. And you'll also see here the feature of a glass roof, and also the feature of a particular roof system that we can demonstrate, which has a decorative coving, a cladding on the ring beam.
This one in New Milton for Mr and Mrs Clements is a double hipped Edwardian. It's got a pitched roof coming off an existing bungalow. A few features I'd like to show you. Fraser, our builder, did the base and foundations. And at the front here you can see the French drain. That's used sometimes if your floor, conservatory floor, is close to your ground. You can get a little ponding with rainwater. So it's wise sometimes to put that French drain in. Also we've got a soakaway that we fit the downpipe into on the front right hand corner. Fraser chooses the bricks for the dwarf wall to match the property, and we have a number of brick libraries we use for that, and if needed we can actually show you a selection of bricks when we start the build. Mr and Mrs Clements also chose a couple of big openers on the frames, and all the windows fitted by Joe and Paul are energy rated. They're an energy B or A rated window. You can choose, which means you're very well insulated in the winter, so you don't need to spend a lot of money heating the conservatory, but likewise you can reflect heat in the summer so you don't get too hot. In Ropley Road, Bournemouth, we recently constructed this wide-fronted Victorian conservatory. Initially I sat down with the clients and we looked at different designs on the laptop, but decided that this best suited the original dwelling. One of the features we chose was to raise the conservatory a foot or so to make it extra tall, in order to suit the doors that were on the back of the house. Also, they chose the polycarbonate heat shield roof, which made sure they weren't too hot in the summer or too cold in the winter. And when working out how much of the corners we're going to take off, we did it so the front piece was going to be extra stretched, because they wanted the doors leading onto the patio on the front. So we put the doors in with the side panels. And as a whole, it suits the dwelling, and it is magnificent when you're inside with that extra height above your head.
Well, we originally chose Richard Thomas because it was a small business. In the past I'd had a bad experience with two very large companies, and we particularly wanted something that was small and more personable, really. Also the locality, because it was near here, we felt that was a good thing. So after we'd made a decision about going with Richard Thomas, we actually went into the office and met Richard himself. He was very personable, very, very pleasant gentleman, and made us feel very welcome, and we struck up a very good rapport with him. We were impressed the fact that we actually met the owner of the company, and were reassured that it was a small team, a small group of people, and the fact that all the work was going to be arranged by one company, so from beginning to end. The one thing that really did reassure us with going with Richard Thomas was the fact that all the workmen in the team were very experienced. We met Fraser, and he was the builder. And right from the very beginning he instilled confidence in the fact that he knew what he was doing. He'd done this many times before, and he gave us a reassurance that everything would be done, in the right order. And in fairness, everything he did, when he said he would be here, he was. It was all very professionally run, and we were very impressed. Following the footings and the brickwork being done, we then were introduced to Paul and Joe, the fitters. They were great. Everybody worked really well as a team. Nothing was too much trouble. Very clean workers. So everything was very slick and very well coordinated. There was no overlap. It all ran very smoothly. And the whole team, Fraser, Paul, Joe and Graham, were great. And the conservatory was done with minimal mess. We're very impressed with the whole team. It was very nice to see Ben and Richard through the project, that they weren't just hidden in an office somewhere. They did actually take an interest, and they knew the whole team and supported the whole team, and everybody worked very well together.
Mr and Mrs Kirkman in Muddyford, Christchurch decided on a single-hipped Edwardian with dropped dwarf walls at the side, giving glass to the ground at the front and one frame return. And then also they went for the no cressing finial option on the roof. We installed the 35mm opal polycarbonate heat guard, which reflects a significant amount of heat, up to 65-70% of the heat generated by the sun, whilst insulating them better in the winter. Mr and Mrs Kirkman decided to drop the dwarf wall at the front of the conservatory, giving slightly more floor space inside, particularly at the front, and also having the feature of the glass to the ground inviting the garden in. With the dwarf walls and the gable walls, we can raise or lower them at any particular point to suit. So sometimes you can have a high wall, a 3/4 wall or a full wall, and we can even lower the dwarf wall in stages if required. This we can show on our laptop, which really helps get the feel of the conservatory. One of our special features with all conservatories is that we use a LED specialist to do the LED work. That's the flashing or the LED trays with every conservatory. All Richard Thomas conservatories are bespokely designed with the latest equipment. Here in Southbourne Overcliff in Bournemouth, we designed a single-storey extension with a balcony on top, with the conservatory coming off the front. When we design your conservatory on the laptop, we'll discuss your door options. About 70-80% of the time, people choose French doors, French casement doors, or 2-pane sliding patio doors. But there are some things in the market that might be worth mentioning. For example, here in Bournemouth, Mr and Mrs Hagger chose a multi-sliding patio system along the front of their lean-to conservatory to open it right up in the summer. We also offer bifold doors, 2, 3, 4-pane patio doors, as well as special French doors that can open right out onto cabin hooks. Your sales advisor will discuss this with you at point of sale.